So how did you publish your book to all these different places? Did you have to go in individually and upload it, or was there like...
No, what I did is, so after I actually finished the book, and also, hi everybody, Kaufman's not here tonight. He's not feeling well. There is there's a thing in the Discord where we can actually sign a digital card for him and wish him well. But right now me and Penelope have been talking. She asked me about my book, so I'm going to answer that.
Yes, please.
After I actually like finished it, formatted it, everything, I went to draftdigital.com. And they're really good if you want to publish an ebook in multiple places.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What was that called again?
Draft to Digital. And that's like the number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to in the Discord. I'm actually going to share a link to my books page from Draft to Digital, so people can see like where they'd want to buy it. And if people want to go through Draft to Digital themselves, they can get in a better idea of where their books can eventually be sold.
That's cool. I mean, it sounded like it's so convenient to have like just one location that you go to and publish everywhere from that location. I do everything on my website, because I'm kind of anti-Amazon.
I don't blame you.
A little bit. They can be fussy in ways that you can't have 2 princesses in the room, okay? So I just, for the sake of my own like ease of getting up, there's so many other pressures with like getting a book edited and the cover and publishing and all that, so I was just like, just put them on my website. And I wanted to channel people into my website anyway, because I wanted people signing up for my newsletter, because I wanted to start growing that as a marketing tool. So but if I was interested in expanding to like Apple Books and Apple audiobooks, because I think that they do quite a lot of business in Japan. And a couple of the ideas that I've developed in my books have been from like, I don't know, I don't read too many of the mangas or anything like that, but I watch the cartoons, like the one season cartoons. And this one was called, oh crap, I can't remember the name of it right now, but I really like Japanese short serialized fictions. Especially anything that's in comic form. And so I've gotten a couple of ideas from watching those. And I also like the form, and I kind of write like that anyway. So I'm like, well, if they speak English, maybe they'll read my books. So I was like, I would eventually like to do Apple Books, but there's so many different options now. It's not just Amazon, and having that one location where you can just post it and the owls take it to all the different locations. That's definitely something I want to research.
Yeah,
did you have a good experience with it?
Let's see. I think for Drafted Digital, give me 1 second here and double check. I was able to publish the ebook to 10 different websites. And then through Ingram Spark, which is something I still need to update because that is my physical copy, and I have to update it because there's something wrong with the cover.
Oh, that's such a...
Well, the problem with the cover is, so the cover is actually done. It's just it's not formatted right.
It's the formatting. Yeah.
I had to reformat the book to a different size.
Oh no!
I had gotten that wrong, so I actually had to go into my Word document, because I use Word to write, and I had to redo all of that. Like, so the style and stuff changed. It changed the amount of pages. So it just made it like so much bigger.
Oh God. Yeah. So then you have to, so it changes the spine size, right? Because you've got more pages, and then you have to reformat it for the whole.
And my book is fairly thick. I think it's almost 600 pages.
Of course.
Well, I mean, for my first book, it's a little big, but at the same time,
I thought you were gonna say it's a bit short for my first book, but you know.
Okay, in all honesty, it would have been a little shorter if I hadn't want to drag out that end a little bit.
Oh, sometimes you just gotta Lord of the Rings the ending and enjoy seeing everybody's rap story. Did you really draw out the ending though? I always dive off a cliff at the end. I'm done.
Well, honestly, I had the ending planned years ago.
Oh.
I had the ending, well, more or less. The ending was actually planned about, let me think. I started writing this book when I was 12. I had the ending planned out by the time I was 16.
Wow.
Just for context, I'm 30 now.
So for half of your life, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason I'm proud of this book, and a lot of it is just because I finally managed to get it done. But no, I had the ending planned out long before most of the other book. The book went through 5 different iterations before it got to what it is now. Some characters were but some characters were taken out. A couple of characters were added, but most of them actually stayed the same. I actually ended up taking a couple of characters and I removed them from the first book and ended up putting them in the second. So, yeah, that's actually the antagonist for one of the antagonists for the second book. He was actually meant to be a major character in the first book, but then I got to my final iteration. It's like, oh, he is not good for this book right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I just kind of put him to the side because I didn't know what I was going to do with him. And it's like, wait a minute. So I'm planning the second book. I need an antagonist. I have this really weird character I haven't done anything with. I'm just going to put him over here. And he's worked out beautifully.
Nice. Well, you have so many, like, you have, like, universes in your head, vistas, different planets that you're all writing. You know, I've noticed.
Yeah, honestly, I will admit it's a little overwhelming at times. I have, 10 different places at once.
I imagine. Yeah, and it's just, like, I think that it must be, for me, like, trying to experience your head for a second. Imagining what that might be like. I feel like it'd be like strolling through different places, and when you get an idea of the story in a particular place, like, you know, starting to write it down and trying to capture what's going on in that moment, and then as much of that as you can, and then portaling. And then a portal opens underneath you, and the next thing you know, you're on a mountain on a different planet, and you're like, oh, these guys, my friends over here, I'm gonna hang out with them that's how I imagine your head. There's some very serene streams in there as well. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I feel like with everything going on, the occasional serene stream is a thing that needs to happen.
No, I will say the inside of my head, it is just like one gigantic forest. And just wherever I want to spend time, like whichever story I want to focus on, I just happen to just like move through that forest until I get there.
Awesome. So
If it takes me a day, it takes me a day. If it takes me 10, it takes me 10. If it takes me a year, then it takes me a year.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're like, no, we're putting on one pair of boots, one backpack, and we're going to get to the other side of this.
Pretty much.
Nice.
And hey, maybe there's some glowing mushrooms along the way that help me find like where I'm going, but it's mostly just not that.
A little sign that says, like, the little.
No, there wouldn't be signs because that would just be craziness.
I sometimes, like, I feel like I write very subtly. So at one point in one of my books, I did basically just put it that way sign, because I was like, I'm run out of ideas. I have no other idea of how to get them there. So, dude, it's that way.
Yeah, sometimes that's really all you can do is
I mean, like, sometimes you gotta cheat a little bit. Like, you gotta pull the rabbit out of your hat and the plot point out of your.
Yeah, because I mean, at the beginning of the second book, Shifting Flame, I honestly had no idea how I was going to. Without giving too much away.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, I will say this because this isn't a spoiler. This is actually going to be in the blurb.
Okay.
The second book happens 2 years after the first one ends.
Okay.
Kasai has disappeared, and Ox is looking for him. I will say this is kind of a spoiler, but it's also kind of like an expected thing. They do reunite, and it's very unexpected. And I honestly did not initially plan for them to reunite the way they did. But when I actually got there, it's like, okay, so I need Ox to actually reunite with Kasai. Kasai might be in this area, he might not. And then it's like, okay, you know, I need some kind of action in the first chapter that's not just Ox wallowing in his grief or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the very end of the first chapter, it's like, you know what? I'm going to throw him a bone, which that is not a pun on him being a wolf, though. And yeah, he shapeshifts into a wolf. So
nice.
They end up meeting at the end of the first chapter, and it was very unexpected because they didn't know where, nobody knew where Kasai was.
Mm.
And Ox is like essentially just like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should just go home. And so then he just finds, and I mean, I know that was kind of cliche. Oh, he gives up and then he finds him, but
yeah, no, that happens so often.
Really a better way to do that.
I think that actually, like, I think a lot of times when you give up looking for something and you forget about it, like, that's when I usually find things, like words, people.
Well,
like,
with Ox, it was more of a lot of people thought Kasai was dead.
Oh, okay.
And long story short, he had been offered the position to lead his tribe, but he didn't want to go back without his mate.
Yeah.
So after a couple years, when he couldn't find Kasai, he was actually starting to consider if he should go home and actually take that position. But he had absolutely no heart for it. But then in his wallowing, he ends up yeah, clicks work. But he ends up getting distracted from his wallowing to help somebody out, and that inadvertently leads to his reuniting with Kasai, which does not go any way how anyone expected with him.
Yeah. This is the other thing. Like, not only are the like universes and the landscapes you're sculpting very complicated, you've also got very complicated characters and relationships. Like, how long have you been writing your stories in your head and on paper? Like, has it been 15 years?
You want me to be honest with how long I've been making stories?
Yeah. How long? And I'll throw this out for everybody. Like, when did you first start writing stories, poetry, whatever?
I started reading stories from the moment I could read, from the moment I could actually see what a book was. But I think I've actually been making stories since I was maybe 8.
8. Okay.
So for most of my life.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. It feels like you've been working on them. They're very like a wall that a lot of people walk by and touched. They're very worn from being contemplated.
I really try to work with my stories because, I mean, okay, so I know there's, the different genres, there's the different age groups. I do not write kid stuff. I have never once written anything for a kid. I have tried to. Tales of Jade is meant to be for kids. It was actually made for a friend of mine who is a special ed teacher.
Oh, okay.
And Tales of Jade is actually about like this little kitten who's a polycadal. She's got a tail that splits into 2, and she's got heterochromia. And she's actually supposed to stand in for the kids that are different, the kids that they don't fit in with the norm.
I absolutely adore that cat already. What was their name?
Her name is Jade. And the entire series is called Tales of Jade. But the play on word is it's Pale instead of like a cattail.
Oh, okay.
And all her stories revolve around learning about people's differences and how they make us unique. How even if somebody's different, if somebody comes from like a different culture, for example, because there's a snake like that, how to respect them without making them change, but also maybe without changing yourself, but still being able to respect that within the realm of everything else going on. There's a lot of characters that it's just Jade helps them come to terms with, okay, maybe I shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, maybe I should be more
Yeah, there's a stereotypical snooty white cat who thinks she's better than everyone because she's a purebred. And then you've got this old bloodhound who doesn't like change and doesn't like anything that's really different. You've got a snake who was captured wild and is forced to become a pet, and he misses his home. And Jade actually helps him by doing some cultural things for him to help him feel more at home where he's living.
Oh yeah, like
there's this hyperactive orange tabby who,
of course,
he doesn't understand personal space.
Of course,
he's actually based off autistic kids. He doesn't understand personal space. He doesn't know when to calm down and let other people, not override other people. And Jade ends up helping him learn the social cues for that.
Oh.
So she just goes around helping people.
That sounds amazing. And did you ever?
This is supposed to be a kids book, and it's based like in the real world. It's like one of the few that is.
I think it sounds lovely.
I want to illustrate it. I shared a couple images in the Discord.
Yes, please do, because I think that would be. I was going to ask you, like, when you were 8 and you were writing your stories, were they illustrated? Were you like,
God, no. I didn't get into illustrated stuff until I was in high school.
oh, really?
One Piece was my first anime. Yeah, One Piece was my first anime. Wolf's Rain was the second. And I liked them. And I like to draw, but I didn't really get into making comics. I didn't really get into reading a lot of them. Most of my stuff was I was one of the kids in 4th grade. I read The Return of the King. I read that in 3 days and shocked my entire school.
Wow.
Which isn't saying much because it was like 50 people, but
No. 50 people went, wow.
Yeah, no, my teacher actually did not want to believe me. She's like, okay, you know what? You read this book, which is supposed to be for like grade 12 and up.
Yeah.
You're a 4th grader. She had me take like this test online. Passed it full. Nice. I passed it with everything correct.
Nice.
But yeah, no, most of my stories aren't for kids. They're more for like teen and up.
Yeah.
They've got mature themes in some way, shape, or another. Or at the very least, they go deeper into what a kid's show would go. Think of Adventure Time. It looks like it's for kids, but it's got some really deep themes to it if you really pay attention.
And I love that about kids shows, like the ones that dare to go a bit deeper. Like the 80s were great. It would scare the hell out of you. You know, like there was some crazy sci-fi with some like really staggering themes, and it was like, and it'd have the cute little alien that was running around, and then it'd be like, you know, oh my god, like it would be so aggressive or terrifying or whatever. Like, no wonder Gen X is so strange, because they have Stephen King and 80s sci-fi. And fantasy as 70s fantasy was really weird too. Like I think that Guillermo del Toro, who was the film director who did like Pan's Labyrinth, said that animation is a genre, not for kids specifically. It's a genre for everybody to enjoy. And I think that so often like illustrated things and anything artistic kind of get immediately like it identifies them as being kid friendly. But like I would rather see more people doing adult animated, like geared not like adult entertainment industry, but
no, I get what you mean.
Yeah, adult centric, like when Adult Swim came out, and it had like oh my god, the one with the talking fries and the meatball. Aqua Teen Hunger Force and all of the weird cartoons that came. Oh yeah, well, it's so strange.
I hear that occasionally. My husband likes to watch it, and it's just every time I'm just like this.
Did you hear that?
What?
I heard something.
I was typing for a second.
Look down. Yeah, so like I mean like Adult Swim and stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I think that we're gonna have a special guest come and join us for a second. All right, everybody say hi.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Take off.
Hey, Penelope. Sol, thank you so much for helping me. I just wanted to appreciate it. Let everybody know that it's probably nothing, but I know since I'm in the hospital, there's like no way of live streaming. But I just want to let everyone know, like it's probably nothing. Okay. It was all minor stuff, but I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
I couldn't allow myself to break the streak after 344 days.
So I sent you the link. I was like, he always said if he was in the hospital, he was going to live stream. I was like, all right. I didn't think you were lying. So
I guess I can legitimately say I've live streamed in the hospital now.
Dude, that's how hardcore you are. Put a dragon on that.
I'll tell the nurses. I have to get going, but I'll tell you guys that I feel like from this experience, the writer part of me, and like this is like the other side, is thinking about all the symptoms I'm feeling and all the pain, and asking myself, how can I channel that into a scarecrow? I'm such a writer.
Yeah, it does. You can't shut it off, can you?
All right, my friends, thanks so much for taking over. Anybody, I don't see the chat at all, so ChatSol, Penelope, you guys rock. I appreciate you. And everybody, I'll update tomorrow.
Good.
Yep.
All right.
We look forward to hearing from you. Okay.
Well, at least he was able to drop in for a moment.
Yeah. You guys go sign the Get Better Soon card. Over in the Soul Set Up the channel. It's at all the way at the bottom. It's called #GetBetterSoon, and there is a really super fast Get Well Soon card that I threw in there. So go tell Kaufman to get better soon in the Discord. I'm sorry. That surprised me because all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, look who it is. I was like, are you just seeing if everything's going okay, or do you want to come on camera, dude?
The way my camera's positioned, I didn't even see him at the bottom.
You didn't?
Of the screen.
Oh,
no, my camera's like right in the way of where our icons are at the bottom.
Oh, so. Okay. See, I can see. I didn't see everything, so I was like, dude, he's here. Should we let him in his own studio? Well, he didn't break a streak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to give the guy props, right?
Yep.
He's going to hit. I'm sure he'll be better tomorrow, too. Well, I'll look forward to seeing him back on camera.
Actually, that does make me think, though. It actually, and I've noticed this, too, before, is when I don't feel well, sometimes I'm able to actually channel that into my writing in one way, shape, or another.
Really?
Anyone else ever able to do that? I mean, seriously, throw it down in the comments, because I'm actually really curious. For myself, sometimes I just lay there and I think about, okay, so I'm doing this in this story, and I know what's going to happen. What do I want this next event going to be? Or I think about, like, what world I'm creating. Depending on where I'm at in my story, I'll design something. Or if I'm feeling well enough to sit at my computer, I will sit here and write, and I actually do tend to write a little, maybe slower, which I know is hard to believe. I do tend to write a little slower, but I do tend to write more when I'm sick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So did you channel your pain or negative experiences into your writing? But like sickness, like anything you just, that physical don't feel better. I actually, I think that would be useful, especially with Kaufman doing the Scarecrow, because there's all the battle scenes in that. That would definitely be useful for him. And also the weariness that must come from going on an epic adventure. I tend to put psychological distress because I have bouts of over the course of my life. I've had bouts of stress and anxiety and depression. So I tend to talk about those kind of things. But I also like to create. I fictionalize my experiences and hide them behind metaphor because it's not a memoir for me. So like, I don't want to necessarily talk directly about the things because that can be a little triggering too. But also like, because I'm trying to tell a story, and those experiences of mine aren't necessarily going to sync exactly with the experiences of my character. So, let's see, what do we say?
I know for my own, like when it comes like to the mental stuff, I think I use it to go the other way and find pleasant and positive things to write. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good way to do it too. I mean, all of your experiences, right?
Every experience can be used for whatever you're doing, whether it's writing, making music, doing art, whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever's going on, put it into it.
Yeah, because there's the most impressive to me, like I've talked to a couple of people about things that they've written, and they talk about where certain elements of that come from, and it always strikes me that the elements that have real world experiences in them, like I saw this particular sunrise, or I saw this dog that was doing this particular thing, or whatever it is, and I put it in the story, like those things always show up so much more clearly for me as a reader. Because they've got they don't. So there's kind of two lessons.
It's not just imagining. It's something that they have actual experience with, and how can you write something to its best version if you haven't experienced it yourself?
Right. Even and I have everybody has told me over the course of my life I have a very active imagination.
Oh yeah, no,
But
I totally get that.
yeah, right, right. Like, yeah, like you have a very active amount. Yes, I know. I like to make stuff up. Oh, poor little writers. Poor little things. But I think that even if you can't, I think that one of the things that is really important to realize about this as well is to look at something if you're having if, like, for example, your audience is struggling to understand what you're reading, what they're reading, or if the scene seems too vague or something like that, like, definitely put yourself into the scene. Like, close your eyes and get into a headspace or whatever where you can start imagining. If you have the kind of brain that allows you to see visual images, allow yourself to go into that and, like, engage your senses with what's going on. Ground
I
yourself.
will say that is not a bad idea, but I do want to kind of warn people who actually do want to try that. Be very careful what you're doing. Because for people like, okay, so for people who have like really active imaginations and can actually put themselves in those situations, but like they've never done it. And I'm saying this from personal experience. If you're not used to it, it is, depending on what you're imagining, depending on the scene you're trying to write, it can actually be really triggering, really bad. When I wrote the end of the first book, I mean, I've been planning that for years. I've been planning that since I was basically half my life. When I actually sat down to write it, the very first version of it, before it went through editing, it wasn't that bad. It was actually really decent for an unedited action scene. But then when I actually went back to edit it, I decided to actually put myself in Kasai's place, which was a very terrible idea. And oh god, it's one of the few times I've actually wished I don't have as an imagination as I do. Because I can actually like put myself in that situation deep enough. I can actually like feel things. Like I can actually make myself feel everything that's going on. It's really weird. I hate it.
No.
But I could actually feel every injury I gave him. Every emotion he felt. I was going through that while I was writing that scene. In the very last part where he essentially has a mental breakdown, I was not in the best headspace to actually actively write that out while imagining it. It turned out beautifully. It really did. It is a very emotional scene where you'd have to not have a heart to at least sympathize with what he's going through. I mean, and that's not coming from me. That's coming from a few people that I had read it. Just that scene alone, not one person had an issue with it. They actually said it was very powerful, and I was really glad about that. But it was like, no, I should not have imagined myself in that scene until I was mentally prepared, because it was so bad.
Yeah. So obviously, like, if you do have that kind of an active imagination, be careful what kind of scenes you put yourself in. But like at the same time, like, you were able to put yourself so completely into your character's head that you were able to write a scene as if you'd experienced it yourself. So it's definitely well, we're writers, so everything, our pens are double-edged swords, right? But I mean, like, if you don't have the experience, and another, like, and just kind of a corollary to all of this, like, write what you know. It's not, so I was writing the Love Spell Murders, and I really wanted to set it in like this noir, like foggy Los Angeles type place, right? I wanted to do it in LA, and because it was a noir detective, it started out as a noir, and I don't know the first thing about LA. Like, I've never even been there, right? I'm from Kansas, and so I started trying to write it, and I was just like, it's just, I don't know the first thing about writing a story or the kind of people that live. I did Hollywood in Detroit's Requiem, but I've watched a ton of movies. This wasn't about movies. This was about crime and murder. I knew about crime and murder. I didn't know my setting well enough. So I ended up trying to find some sort of common, like someplace that I could set. I just gave up. I was like, I'll do it. I'll be uncool and I'll set it in Kansas and we'll see what happens. So one of the things that I made this connection that allowed me to actually really enjoy using Kansas as a backdrop for this story. In Manhattan, Kansas, there is, like, you know, the Hollywood sign? Okay, so like a year later, a bunch of people in Manhattan, Kansas, which is about 50,000 people, which is not as substantially sized,
That's
town.
about the size of my town.
Yeah, it's a bigger town. Anyway, and it has K-State, the university, Kansas State University, not the Jayhawks. Those are different. But and I went to school there, and I drove around there a lot because I skipped class and I was hanging out, and I went up to the hill a lot, and the hill that overlooks the city has like the Hollywood letters, but it spells out Manhattan. It was built a year later. So we have that cool Hollywood noir backdrop, except in Kansas, right? So it's like, that's the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can still write, I can still talk about and relate it to this kind of story and have it have the same kind of vibe without writing outside of my knowledge base and sounding like an idiot because I don't know the first thing. I don't even think I could write about how the ocean smelled, like I can kind of remember it, but I was like 10 when I was there. So,
I'll say this, write what you know, learn more and know more. Yes, research is definitely crucial. And if you have fun with it, you're just like the best kind of person.
Oh, yeah.
But my teacher actually had a rant about this during one of our lectures. It was like 10 minutes, I think. But he was very adamant on write what you know is one of the worst things you can tell a writer. Because especially new writers, they're going to take it the wrong way and they're going to think they can't write anything else.
Oh, yeah, that's not, yeah.
But no, what you need to do is, like Mary said, learn, do your research. Try to base what you're writing off what you know. Try to find some kind of common ground like you did with your story.
Mm-hmm, commonality between noir LA and what
don't stick it with only what you know. Learn to research. Read what other people have written about this area that you're doing.
There's loads of hills.
Yeah, I have to laugh.
We have the Flint Hills. It's a longitudinal fold in the earth that starts by Wichita and goes all the way north. We got hills. And you're thinking of Nebraska, which is flatter than I am. Nebraska's got nothing but, like, you know what the depth of a cornfield in Nebraska. Like, we actually have some really pretty scenery in Kansas, especially in northern Kansas.
Yeah, northern Kansas isn't half bad. I've driven through there. I've driven through Kansas a few times. I have been over most of the United States. If it's west of the Mississippi, I have probably been there, except for Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, and Oregon. But I've been to all the other states, and it was just awesome. Yeah. I've also been to quite a few eastern states, but not as many.
Yeah.
My family love to travel. That's why I like to write. That's actually, I think, why I like to write stories. I grew up reading Native American stuff.
Oh, cool. Right on. So, like, you get to travel and see all of the different places, though. Like,
not anymore, but I used to. I've been to almost every national park west of the Mississippi.
Nice. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the national parks. Like, we didn't go to cities when we went on vacation. Dad would take 2 weeks every year, and we'd jump in the Winnebago and drive somewhere. So I experienced. Awesome. Yeah, I experienced a lot of America. That we didn't go east either. We went west as well. When I was 8, I went to the Pacific Ocean. We went as far as California, but normally we just hung out in like the Rockies, which is the first like. The camper couldn't quite get over them. She was kind of old, so we just kind of stayed on this side of the Rockies.
Yeah, getting over the Rockies in a camper, that is
a chore.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a chore in an old, like, 30-foot long Winnebago with 2 kids doing this.
But no, a lot of my vacations, it's actually how, at least for my own scenes, I'm able to write some of them as well as I do in terms of description for like the location. Is I've been on the Great Plains. I've been in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I've been to Mount Rushmore. I've been to Mammoth Cave down in Kentucky. I've been up in the Rockies. I've been on the East Coast on the shoreline. So I've actually like been in the ocean. I have been in a variety of territories that a lot of them actually do appear in my books. So, like, I still do my research, but I can actually base a lot of what I know location wise generally to where I've been. And I will say one of my favorite locations to write actually is forest, Forest, hot springs, and, well, mountains.
Mountains are good for writing. Mountains have that
awesome.
solitary, ascended vibe. Like there's a, I don't know.
Mountains are kind of I know might sound weird for a location. I think they're kind of a cliche territory.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because they're everywhere. Any kind of fantasy story, I feel like 90% of them have a mountain somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta put a mountain on it.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about it, but it's like there's just so many. There's only so many ways you can even write a mountain too.
Yeah, like I mean, there's it goes up, it comes down. Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with that. I'm trying to think of, there was this kind of wandering back over to this writing what you know, which there was this author that I ran across, and we were doing in college. We were doing like essays on writing, like craft writers writing about craft, and she was talking about one of the short stories that she had written, and she got the inspiration. She was walking by an open door, and she happened to look in and listen to the conversation for a few seconds, and somehow she knew that it was a group of young Protestant men having a conversation over a dinner table. Like she picked up that much from like the 5 seconds or 10 seconds she spent walking by and listening to the conversation. And her advice was something like, I didn't need to know exactly what they were saying, but I know what Protestants do, and I know what young men talk about, and I know what dinner looks like. So I can put all those 3 things together and begin to write fiction about it. So there is an element of like experience and experiences, and there's also the novelty of creating something from those experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think that good writing, I mean, if you're just going to, it has to kind of go, you have to bounce between the two to get where you're going, unless you're just writing like straight nonfiction.
Nonfiction's one thing, but fiction, it's experience and imagination, and I think I know there's a third thing.
Writing skills like grammar?
No, because those can be learned over time.
Okay.
Experience, creativity, and honestly, I think for the best writers, you got to have passion.
Yeah, that helps.
You got to have at least a little bit of passion. You got to at least like what you're doing, or your work is going to suck. I've actually read some stories from people that they were, I know they wanted to be screenwriters or something, and that's awesome. And I wish them all the luck in the world, because oh my god, that is just terrifying. But their stories, like their short stories, they were lacking because they didn't have a lot of. I mean, they seemed to kind of like what they were writing about, but it was the format they didn't like, so their story really suffered. Because they didn't have a good understanding of, because they weren't paying attention enough to understand how to write it decently.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had writers like me in class who, no, we were there to actually write novels and books and all kinds of stories, and everyone knew it. Because it wasn't, because we love what we were doing, and we were actually able to take that passion for it, pay attention to what the teacher was telling us, and be able to write it in the correct format.
You have to, like form follows function. Like anybody who struggled with the flash fiction competition in the autumn will tell you that it's difficult. You can't turn a poem into a novel. And you can't distill a novel into a poem. You can distill a chapter or a scene or a theme into a poem.
I beg to differ with your first point. Taking a poem into a novel.
You can expand it out to that. Yeah. But yeah. Or unless you're Spencer and you've written 8 books about the Fairy Queen in poetic form, like, okay, if you're Spencer, arguably the Britamartis cycle. Yes. And that dude was insane though. Like he created his own rhyme scheme so that he could write the stories the way he wanted to, and the rhyme scheme that he wanted to use. But yeah, I mean the okay, or maybe even more accurately, like whatever you're trying to write about has a specific form that is very well suited for it. If you want to talk about philosophy of the mind or the history of philosophy, you're going to write a series of volumes about that, because that topic is very large, and you're going to be writing nonfiction, and you're going to have to try not to put people to sleep.
Easier said than done.
I know, right? No, that's the thing about like a lot of history writers, because I got my degree in history, and it was like, once you get into like grad school, they start giving you the guys who can actually write. It's like, yay, this is exciting. But the textbooks, man, like, please, snoozeville, right? But like, okay, so my point is, like, if you want to write a history of philosophy, you've got to write several volumes about it. If you want to write for example, about a spider that you saw on a banister swinging on its little web, and it reminds you of your soul swinging across the cosmos, then you're Walt Whitman, and you've written a poem about it. If you want to, it depends on what you want to write, and also what you're good at writing. Like, and it's always good, and we were talking about this a little bit before we started the feed. It's always good for writers who want to push themselves creatively to try different forms and try different genres and see what happens. Sometimes it feels crappy. Sometimes it feels weird, but you push through it and you find something really exciting about yourself as a writer, because being a writer and improving and growing as a writer means writing, practicing writing. And if you're running out of things to write about, start picking up different forms. Try a flash fiction, try a short story, try a limerick, write a haiku if you don't have that much time. And research is phenomenally important. I did want to speak to that point. I wish more people would kind of think about, like, and I'm guilty of this too, but I will say some things in my novel and it isn't true. And I just haven't thought about it not being true. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like something that's actually like a known fact that you just
like a fact, like, yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, it can't be 5 o'clock on the East Coast and also 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Like, there's just like that comes from figuring there's a lot of, I don't know, it makes a story feel less fleshed out and have less depth if it's not.
It's sloppy. It says, at least to me, it would say that the writer didn't do the research required, because granted, that's something a little mundane, but depending on what you're writing, that breaks the immersion of the story.
Yeah, if you pull your reader out for something like that, it's gonna be like, wait, is that true? And they're not thinking about the story anymore. They're thinking about it. So like, there's a certain amount. Well, I mean, like, have you seen Knives Out?
I have not.
Oh, it's this great movie. It's about a mystery writer who like, oh my god, it's such a great mystery movie. But the guy's he writes mysteries, and he's talking about his nephew having his nephew help him research a topic over the course of a summer, or like he'd be like, go find out stuff about this and bring back what you know. So research if you're a writer who wants to write outside of your experiences, I would suggest doing a lot of research. Otherwise, your writing's going to feel a little bit two-dimensional. Because you're just not going to have you're going to have to fill in with imagination or knowledge outside of it. Or like, even like if you're writing, for example, about nature, go check out some in the mountains, then go check out what John Muir has said about them. There's writers out there who have written very beautiful nonfiction works about different environments, for example. So if you want to know about what, I'm just pulling this out of thin air, but like Germany in the 1940s or something like that, go read one of the history books or something like that. There's information you can look up, and you want your text to feel like that passion is important. If you're excited about writing it, your readers can tell. We can tell if you like or dislike or know a lot or know very little about what you're writing. So I like backstory is always good.
Yeah, you're right, Mary. It shows in cliches and stereotypes. I'll say I told Penelope about this, but I'm starting a romance novel, and I've actually been doing some research about it for like the past week or so, just so I can actually avoid cliches and stereotypes. And from what I have actually plotted of it so far, yes, I actually sat down and plotted something.
What?
I'm usually a pantser, so. But I actually decided, okay, you know what? I don't know much about this. I'm going to do some research. I now have characters that go against the stereotype within that genre. Okay, granted, one of them actually does go directly into the stereotype, but there's a reason for that. But the other two, but the protagonist and the antagonist both, they don't fit their stereotypes within that genre, like at all. They're actually like the complete opposite of it because I did my research, so I could actually avoid that. And I did that with pirates too. Is there was actually a lot of stuff that based off evolution, genetics, mutations, a lot of science stuff, a lot of technological things. I had to really go and make sure that I'm not saying something completely wrong. If I say something that isn't known or doesn't, or isn't said to be wrong, it's one thing. But I want to make sure what I was saying wasn't. Basically, I was twisting a fact. I want to make sure I wasn't doing that.
Yeah. And I think that's like, you can tell if somebody has created a 3-dimensional landscape with complicated characters and dropped you into the middle of the game. Or if somebody is just leaving you a paper trail of where they want you to go. And that comes with experience too. And I think that a lot of writers, I think that maybe sometimes writing feels a bit vague. I do this all the time. I have an entire edit where I go back and like, I've said something. Action. And anytime you have the opportunity to do that, look for those opportunities to do that, because I think that gives your story depth. If you can do something, if you can say the same thing by writing a scene and with dialogue or action or whatever, rather than just narrating it, you know what I mean? Like that seems to give your story a little bit more depth. I think the drafts are very good for like, just kind of exposing the story. That's what I do when I pants. I do. Show don't tell edit. I have how many semicolons have I used on this page edit? It's all kinds of edits.
Yeah.
What kind of edits do you have?
Most of my edits are commas, mainly commas, making sure they're in the right places, making sure that I have them where I need them. I get rid of them where they aren't needed. In Pirates, my biggest issue after the first draft was connecting events. There were some events where like I technically had it right, but they were like one tiny little detail that made all the difference. And I had to go back and double check that, wait a minute, did it really happen like this, or am I missing something? It only happened a couple times, but the little detail was big enough. It changed everything for that scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it can. Things that you kind of got to contemplate your scenes a little bit. And that's what the editing is for, right? Like I like to put mine down for a month after I've gotten it kind of where I want it to be. And then I go back and read it.
Yeah. After I finished the last draft, I think I took 3 weeks. I took 3 weeks from Burning Ember, and I started writing Shifting Flame, and I had like a third of the book done in those 3 weeks. And then I went back to Burning Ember and I read it all. And yeah, no, I noticed a few things I had missed previously. And I was like, oh, I'm really glad I went. But it wasn't like anything like major, but it was like it was a couple grammar mistakes. I put somebody's name in the wrong spot, which, oh my God, I can't stand that. I've had one of my favorite authors do that. And it wasn't just that it was a wrong name, but it was the name of a character that was complete opposite of the character that was there.
Oh.
So it was like a huge disconnect. And it's like,
that's shouting the wrong name in bed bad.
Oh my God. It was very annoying.
Yeah. So that brings me to a point that Mary was kind of talking about earlier, was like how much I'll put this one out for everybody, but how much do you think that how much you read and what kind of books you read, and like even how much does reading make how inform being a writer?
I will say only the best writers are also readers. If you do not read, I do not believe you can write nearly as well as you think you can. Granted, you don't need to compare yourself, but at the same time, have an idea of what you like, and that can help you discover what you like to write, or at least help make it better.
It's like practicing without actually writing.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the opportunity to experiment with different kind of, especially if you do it like intentionally. Like, I'm going to read this particular book because I've heard he or she explores style in an interesting way that I want to experience. So like, I mean, for the same reasons like that we're writing to help other people experience what's in our head, reading helps us experience when it's in other writers' head, and how there's what's in your head, and then there's the art of doing it, right?
Yeah.
The art of craft. And so like reading different writers, it's I think that like what stories that you kind of like will inform definitely your genre as well.
I know reading the Bloody Jack series, I know that heavily influenced my writing.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually compared my writing to those books as well as Aaron Hunter's Warrior series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I have no words for how much they actually influence my writing style. And I love it. I love that I can actually write like that, but I've also developed my own flair. And then like I'll read other stuff out there that may be similar, but then like it's different enough, you know, that it's like, okay, this is obviously a completely different kind of book. But then I might find something from that story. It's like, you know, I really like how this author wrote the scene, and then I'll go and try it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That's great though. I remember Hunter S. Thompson sat down and wrote like something by Hemingway on his typewriter just because he wanted to good idea to take your cues from other writers who, if you admire something. So something that Quentin Tarantino said was that if you like movies, you'll probably write good movies. And the same thing goes for writing. If you like books, if you're a voracious appetite for like any sort of book, you'll probably be able to write them well because you're practicing you're practicing experiencing it every time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I put down in the who most inspires your writing in terms of authors or musicians, movies, directors. I'm strongly influenced by movies in my writing. I'm very cinematic because I watch a lot of movies, but I like to write. So I'm like, I'm going to take that form, and I'm going to it's going to transcend my brain and come out the other side as a story. But I do, and I take a lot of my characters are inspired by characters in movies too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's
I know
fun.
for myself, it's primarily music. Honestly, if things had gone different in my life, I actually probably would have been a musician. I'm not joking.
No, I don't think you are.
Yeah, according to a lot of people, I can sing really well, and I should have done something with that, but I didn't. And sometimes I wish I could. But anyway,
you still can. All right, this is just for anybody out there. I'm 45 years old, and I'm just getting my stuff together as a writer. So take it from me. You can start over at any point.
Yeah, that's
and you
true.
Can still start to do the thing that you were supposed to do way back in your 20s, but you didn't because other things sounded more interesting.
Well, no, for me, it wasn't that something else got in the way. It was somebody destroyed my self-confidence so bad that it's still affecting me now, and I'm really trying to work on that.
No, that is like I ran into that with art a lot. Like when I was teaching creativity back in my woo community, like it was always like, let's go do art, let's journal art stuffs together, and everybody who was interested in it would step up and say, I can't draw. And I'm like, why do you say that? And they're like, because so and so back one chick decided to on behalf of the class, tell me how much I sucked at drawing. And like, it hurts. It sucks. It takes you, and it takes whoever you are at that point, and it kind of encases you in amber. And you are too afraid to move forward with it. And I think that I do not understand why people want to kill creativity like that. But like, I am such a big fan of like, let's go in and find that wherever you were. And that's what I told everybody. Like, look, if it's stick figures, we're going to start with stick figures. Work for the people in the caves, right? It's going to work for us. Let's start where you're at, wherever this is. You don't have to be, you have to practice to get to Carnegie Hall.
Yeah,
let's start with, you have to start with stick figures. And one of the things that I found that was really great for breaking people out of that was like Zentangles and other sorts of kind of abstract, just kind of doodling art was really good for just getting people started. So if you ever, and this works for all kinds of creativity, there's somebody at some point, writers, musicians, artists, who told them they weren't very good at what they were doing or worse. And it caused a part of you to get trapped in that statement. And so if you find yourself in that, that's a really, at least if you recognize it, it's an opportunity to start healing from that and moving forward and taking back your creativity for yourself, because I don't think anybody should be robbed of that.
No, they shouldn't.
No, it's not fair, but there are jerks out there who will do it, and they'll do it for fun. And I just want to say, like, from somebody who's taken a lot of crap for being weird, like, and I'm still working on it too. It is a process. It takes years to come back from that sometimes, but like, I don't want those jerks to rule my life. You know, I don't want those jerks to tell me what I can and can't do. Then I get really mad. I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to go do art and stuff. So, I mean, just that riles me up though. I really don't see the point of just for what, and it's such a prevalent attitude, cattiness is like, why are you just telling them that they just, I don't know. How about telling them that they like are using pretty colors or something positive, or just you don't have to say anything and you can just walk away and not say anything. There is an option there for you. Art and stuff. That's right, now. Art and stuff.
But back on like the inspiration, my thing is just music. I like movies. Yeah. I like watching TV. I like reading other books. Mm-hmm. But my biggest thing is music. One of my stories, one of my fan fictions was entirely inspired by a song. Like, I just got like a basic idea for the fan fiction, and then suddenly within 3 days I had like an entire story planned, and it is one of my best fan fictions so far.
Ever a time, okay. I think that that's amazing. I think that so many of the arts interlace with each other, and you can, was it the lyrics of the song, or was it like the music itself?
It was a little bit of both. Depending on the mood I'm in, I will either pay attention to the beat of the song. I might pay attention to the instruments being used, or I might pay attention to the lyrics. In this case, it was the lyrics that caught my ear, and then I looked over on Spotify at the lyrics, mm-hmm. and she was singing in Na'vi, which I thought I've been trying to learn that for years, so that was just really awesome. And then I'm thinking, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm writing a fan fiction. Oh my god! Within 5 seconds, I had a character I wanted to work with. She's turned out to be one of my best characters. She was inspired by a song, which made me think of Avatar and the Na'vi. And then I thought about the actual avatars themselves, mm-hmm. and I thought about their kudus, their braids that let them connect to Awa. And that's basically what I did with this character. I did all that in 5 minutes.
Of course. I love it.
But Arya was inspired just by a song. It took just that one listen through, and suddenly I had a character, and within 10 more minutes I had most of a story, and her story's already been finished. Wow. Her story was actually meant to be a romance fan fiction,
Yeah.
But it actually did not turn out to be that way. I mean, there's definitely romance in it.
Yeah.
But at the very end of it, no, she actually is, well, she's forced to, but sort of. She ends up facing the guy that caused all her problems and ends up taking him out.
Nice.
It was very cathartic and very terrifying.
I bet. And that was, again, like that putting your emotions into your creativity and not necessarily letting them shape the words, but letting them shape the plot and getting that, and doing it gives you a chance to relive the past and fix it in a way,
Well, in her case, it was not me reliving my past.
And I love that you did that.
That was Pirates.
Yes.
But no, for A New Life, no, that was just human experimentation, and she finally got back at the guy that caused all her problems. And not even because of what he did to her, but at that time he was threatening her kids. So it was just more of, it was no longer protecting herself, it was making sure her kids didn't end up in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And that's very powerful.
Yeah, I did not intend to go that way at all with that story, but that is exactly where it went.
That's great. I think that's great. Like, sometimes it's so much easier to do for other people what we can't do for ourselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that I love Nielsen Schmielsen. I love me some Nielsen. He did Can't Live As Without You, that guy. Or the Lime and the Coconut song.
I honestly do not recognize him right off.
You probably caught a couple of his tunes on the radio. But like I like songwriters that write stories. I like songwriters that are storytellers. So like a lot of the chicks in the 70s and the dudes in the 70s and even as far back as the 60s, who are writing and using very poetic and storytelling, a lot of poetry and storytelling. Like Tori Amos, I thought could write really good stories too. Pearl Jam, definitely. And then there's a lot. I was thinking about this the other day too, because I found an album by, I don't remember her name, but I recognized her on the cover. Hang on, let me find it. I love my little thrift store because they just give everything away for $1. So occasionally I get to find cool things. Like, I cannot remember her name, but she's an artist as well. So she does the like paintings on her album, like obviously her album cover. Oh my God. I knew it, like when I saw her too. I was like, oh, that's so and so. Wow, I'm really blanking hard on that. But I love it. Like, she's a lot of painters, a lot of them painted, and oh my God, I can see her face in my head. But they were painting. Or there's like Kurt Vonnegut painted. I mean, there's a lot of people that like stretch out into different arts, and like literature who also paint, musicians who paint, musicians who also write poetry. You'll get that with like Leonard Cohen was a writer, and there's been a couple of like artists like in the last 10 or 15 years that have put out books as well. So I mean, like, I think that the arts are all kind of interrelated with each other. There's a form of poetry called ekphrasis, which is a poem inspired by a painting. And I would even stretch the definition to include any work of art that is inspired by another work of art. So like a painting based on a song, or a song based on a bit of architecture or something like that. That fascinates me. Or is there anybody else who has has a secondary art, or their first art is something else and writing is your second art?
No, writing's my first, and then I can also draw and I can sing.
Yeah. So yeah, musically inclined, visual arts. Yeah. I can't sing. I tried, and then that's a story for a different time. I do artwork. I can play piano though. Like I haven't had a piano for several years, but I still write songs in my head when I can't go to sleep. And they sound so much better in my head than they would if I tried to plink them out on the piano.
I'm actually trying to learn how to play. If I can, I really want to learn how to play. I've also got a guitar, but I need to change out the strings.
Oh, see, that's what stopped me from ever learning, because it was like immediate barrier. It's like throw it in the corner with the rest of the craft supplies.
Yeah, my guitar is shoved in my closet right now.
Mary says that she does paint and she does crafts. I do crafts as well. Like, I love being crafty.
I've tried my hand at it, and I've got stuff for leatherworking, but I haven't yet to do it.
Cool. That's neat. I like that. Natalie does she studied illustration. That's cool too. I love illustration. I try to do that. I just illustrated a book. By the way. Actually, they look really cute. I'm going to, and see, I'm trying to be crafty with it, so I've gotten them all printed out, and now I'm going to like figure out how to turn them into actual tarot cards. So art and craft meet writing. But like, yeah, I like encouraging people to do stuff like that because I think they're all related. We got a cameo. Is that a kid cameo?
Yes, that was my kid.
Okay. I figured it wasn't a cat. Looked human.
Yep.
Okay. ML does art. We've seen some of ML's art. He's been kind enough to share in the Discord, in the dark back alleys of the Discord sometimes. I go back there. I ain't ashamed to admit it. I got as far as the entertainer on piano, right? That one's fun though. That's so bouncy. Bop, bop. That's not right at all. If you know anything about piano, you know I'm faking it. I'm just doing this and making boop, boop, boop noises.
I need to get my keyboard out. I've actually been using Duolingo to learn music, and I'm able to recognize a fair amount of the notes now. I have yet to actually get my keyboard out. I'm actually kind of thinking, and that's actually one thing I actually do incorporate in my writing, though, is I actually have a few of my fan fictions where there's actually a song in it.
UML. Sorry. There's songs in it? Like, okay.
Yes, I've actually written a few songs to go in my fan fictions.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
And people are going to get a kick out of this because they always hear about me with pirates. They are based off sea shanties.
I was going to say, are they? Okay. Yeah. So you got, you, of course you knew what you were doing when you were like, I'm going to great. It's not just songs. There's sea shanty songs that could be sung. I love that. I love integrating. That is so cool. And then like, are you going to actually, so like, I'm really big into like using different arts to like advertise and market and put out like, paper trails or candy trails to my books. So I wrote a poem this morning that I based off of like, how like all nursery rhymes have really creepy origins.
Yes.
Like, I wanted to write a nursery rhyme for Dachura's Requiem that sounded like it had a creepy origin story because there's this one weird line in the book that I didn't take out, but it didn't actually mean anything within the context of the book. And I was like, it sounds like a nursery rhyme. So I wrote a nursery rhyme today, and I'm going to like record it and like have the characters like read it and stuff like that and have it be a creepy commercial. But are you going to, like, I would say like anything like that, or like if you have sea shanties, it's like a jingle almost for your book,
Well, I will admit there's actually one other song that was not a sea shanty, which I'm a little proud of because it was loosely based off The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Oh! I almost forgot about that one. It's in Pirates. It's in Burning Ember.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, you know who you don't see? Tolkien used to do that. Tolkien used to write songs and stuff like that. I love seeing like people experimenting with different things like that. Illustrated songwriting, like, yeah, it's also
honestly that's actually one thing I've been trying to do on the side a little bit is write lyrics. Because I mean, if I'm not actually going to be going out there and being a singer, then maybe I could do the next best thing and actually write songs for people.
Or you could write them for your books and record them and put them out there on like the socials. Like, I'm just saying. Like that.
I don't think I have enough self-confidence for that.
I know. And but if you could write the song and then if you could find somebody who would sing it for you too.
Oh, I could sing it a cappella.
Well, then
I could do that easy. It's I don't have a lot of confidence in that. A lot of
know,
people say I sing good, but I don't believe it. So
yeah, don't you hate that when it's like you do something really well and you just can't bring yourself to the fact that you're awesome? I don't have that problem.
yeah, no, I've had too many people tell me that I sing really. I've actually had people stop bullying me in high school because I sang really well at a talent show.
Okay,
which was awesome.
Yeah,
but I still don't believe I sang that well.
It's not about how well you sing anymore. It's how much you feel like putting yourself out there and being vulnerable to people who you know are jerks. Like that's how I feel about like my confidence when it comes to, for example, staying off script. I hate improving. I don't know why I'm doing live streams all the time, but I need to have something in front of me. And I've just been called weird too many times. So like this has been an exercise in like me getting out of my comfort zone and getting in front of people and being weird in front of people that have made me feel okay about being weird. So thank you guys so much for that. Allowing my weirdo butt to come out here and be semi-weird and entertaining and stumble over my words and like still feel like I'm saying something meaningful or at least like a dumb joke that you laugh. Yes, that you laugh at. So I think it would be wonderful though if you don't feel like recording the songs yourself, maybe even finding somebody who would be willing to do it, because I think that the cool thing about the internet is like you can do so many different multimedia things.
Yes.
And like it's not like the 1800s where like if you have a book and you publish it and you have somebody like you're selling it on the street corner and you've hired a choir girl to sing the song for you, and like I mean like it's very like it feels like it'd be very small and very inclusive, and like I think that people would probably be very weirded out by that song of your book on TikTok. I think that feels right. I think that feels right for art, and I think it feels right for putting yourself out there. So I mean, like, if it ever happens, because I love sea shanties. There's a sea shanty about a possum that I think is the best thing ever. Every night, and he's got this old, like, he's all rugged, and he's got the big beard, and he's like, he made up this sea shanty about this possum. It was just like the funnest thing in the world, and it's still, I saw that 2 years ago, and it still sticks out in my head. Every time somebody says sea shanty, I'm like, the song about the possum. So I mean, and that's the other thing, like music is memorable. Music gets stuck in your brain a lot easier. So I'm just going to stop trying to persuade you to do this. But if it happens, I will be the first in line to check it out. Promise.
Honestly, I just got the lyrics up for what I wrote in Pirates. I'm actually going to share it in the Discord so people can actually see what I wrote.
ML. I used to do community theater musicals.
I tried to get in the theater once. I embarrassed myself in just the tryouts, and I never went back. But that is awesome. That really is.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I can't. I legitimately can't sing. Do y'all remember Jezebel when she took over the ceremony at the end of the night and said she was going to do 5 hours of improvisational singing, and then that I wanted to threaten everybody with, because I honest to God cannot sing. I could for about a month in 2003, and then never again after that. I just stopped practicing, but like it took me like a year to get anywhere with it. And I actually walked off of the stage in Canada after having sang some Pink Floyd, and I was smoking a cigarette outside of the bar that I was doing the open stage at, and there was a group of people laughing at me and making fun of my singing. And and they're Canadians and they're supposed to be polite, right? But they're like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Oh, I was just like, okay, so I'm getting so mad. So you know what I did though? I went back home, and that's when I got my vocal coach, because I was like, I'm never walking off stage again. You can make fun of me for a lot of things, but if I'm trying to do something on a stage and I'm not doing that well, I should probably do something about that.
Also, I just now remembered something else. There was
Thank
actually
you.
another song I wrote years ago.
Thank you.
But there's another song I actually wrote years ago. It was a rewrite of The Parting Glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that for the Wild Wild West Steampunk Convention out in Tucson in
Oh, how
2015.
fun. Yeah.
And I actually got to give it to a band that was there. And they actually had me sing it in front of everyone.
Wow, how'd that go?
They said I was really good. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. And it felt awesome they said that, but like, seriously. I was like so embarrassed.
Oh no. Like, you know what though? Like, I felt embarrassed about like the first time that I came on Kaufman's critique show. I had no idea he was going to read it on air in front of everybody. I thought he was just going to give me a couple comments back, and he's like, okay, we're going to read this. And I'm like, hey, you said what just now? I've also noticed that what people worry about the most is very often the thing that they're best at. And I think it's because that they're putting the most effort into that. So like, I'm
That
always,
makes sense.
yeah, it's like, I'm very concerned about how my plots turn out. Usually, like it's not taking enough care with the characters, or it's some other element of the story. But like, I think normally like we tend to be most critical of what we're best at, which is in a way, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but you should always try to improve, but be realistic about it. Like because don't do the thing where you obsess too much about it, because there are storytelling is a bunch of different elements, and they all kind of need at least some attention. So you don't want to overly concern yourself with one part of it that could be, well, like Hoffman was saying the other day, like works that have one element that's really good will fall apart because the other two elements aren't there. The only thing that really can get away with that is characters, good characters in a terrible world and
Right.
with a terrible plot. Anyway, so yeah, but like I think a lot of times we're our own worst critics too.
I think if you don't criticize anything you're doing, then you're not good at anything.
Yeah.
Not like you think you are.
Yeah.
And if you criticize everything, then I think you're being especially hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if it's like one or two things, and yeah, and I know I'm actually saying this to myself a little bit too, and I'm not going to believe it though. You're probably better than you think if you're just criticizing one or two things.
Yeah, I think that really, like, one of the things that I've benefited from the last year and joining the WriteNow community and being a part of that, and getting feedback for what I've written has confirmed a couple of things that I thought I knew about my writing, but it's also given me the opportunities to see things from other people's perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's really super important with, like, that's why they say like beta readers are kind of important to have, or having like an editor obviously, or like a really good editing session with yourself, but also beta readers, have somebody else read it, look it over.
That's not friends or family
that you trust. Yes, other writery type persons. I mean, there's a lot of guidelines that you can get into for that. I learned the hard way how to do workshops, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but you can, I think that the most important thing is that they can read, you've been putting months into trying to build this thing, right? And they can skim through it and pretty quickly tell you if it's working or not. All of the elements are working together. So not all the readers are going to get what you do, and not all of them are going to like it. And if your family is, depending on how your family is, they'll either tear it apart or they'll love it. I think you need a cheerleader early on and somebody who's more serious about it later. So like, if you have somebody that you trust to read your stuff and tell you it's amazing, start with them. And then move on later to the person who's like, okay, we're going to have a conversation about the word that and the word overuse. Not now that, but that was my big crime. And, you know, working with other people will help you improve your writing.
Yep, that is definitely true.
characters off on the side of the road and forget about them until they become relevant 5 chapters later or whatever. Like, and that feedback will help you grow as an author as well.
Yeah. I know I've been part of another writers group for a little bit longer than I've been part of the WriteNow community. And I've noticed, like, from everything they've told me, granted, I'm still getting, I'm the one who gets the most criticism for what I'm doing, but then again, I've been writing less. They've written a lot longer than I have.
Mm-hmm.
My writing, just from them alone, has improved substantially.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I joined the WriteNow community, it got even better.
Mm-hmm. And that feedback helps. That teaches you. I think one of the first things that I figured out was, like, I take the scenic route with some passages, and a lot of that can be cut down. So I've been trying to, I found out reading it aloud will tell me if I'm getting bored with something, and if that's when you cut it out, right? So that was my first really big, though I was actually, Kaufman was reading it out loud, and I'm like, this is boring. And then I realized, well, if it's boring to you, the writer, then maybe your audience is going to be bored too, and you should cut that scene out. So I actually,
that kind of circles around to, if you enjoy what you're writing, then so will your readers.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't enjoy what you're writing, then why are you even doing it?
That's a good question. I think, I mean, like, some people are going to write to make money, and if they figured out a formula for making money doing writing, that's
awesome. But
yeah,
how good is their stuff?
Yeah, like, I mean, I can't imagine that anybody that has absolutely no joy in writing is actually, I don't know how that would work at all. I want to write a short story about this, like, best-selling author who just hates writing now, and I want to figure out how they did it. Like, how could you do it? How could you be completely void of passion or poetry? Or,
I think with some people, it's just they do enough research that they can actually bypass that, which I'm not saying that works for everyone. There are some people that it does, but I think the majority of people, it doesn't. If you can actually make money with writing, or just do anything with writing and be good, but yet not like it, I'd love to know how your brain works.
Yeah. I'd also like to recommend, like, maybe, I'm not saying, like, that you shouldn't be writing, because if you're getting away with it, like, good for you, but, like, wouldn't you be happier doing something else? Like data entry. I don't know. What do normal people do? What do normal people jobs look like? I was a bank teller. That was my attempt to blend in with society. That did not go according to plan.
Cashier.
God's or mine. Oh, see? You know what I'm talking about. Writing to trend. Yes, and I was thinking of this in my head. Like, once a book or a particular style of book gets popular, a lot of people kind of flock around that. Start to write. And, like, I think that if you're going to be, like, the kind of person who devours a lot of novels, quickly, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those as long as you're entertained by them. There's candy. There's full course meals books, and there's candy, and there's candy corn, and there's, stuff in between. If you want to read the, like, quick and dirty little whatever, that's cool. But, like, I think that the market becomes saturated around that. And I think it dilutes for me, because I'm somebody who needs novelty constantly, or I get bored. I can't read the same story over and over again. So I'm actually kind of mystified by this repetition in a trend, and everybody, like, I mean, I get it, like, make money in this genre while it's hot to do so, but
there's a limit.
I think that you get the people who just want to write for money at that point. And they've kind of, if they're able to write an entertaining story without actually enjoying it, then, okay. That's not what I do, but
if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, like, no skin off of anybody's back, but, like, I think that people deserve to have, like, writing that challenges them, or that is, like, gorgeous in some way, or gives them new experiences, or elevates them.
They deserve to have writing that gives them life.
Yeah, writing that has life, that has a pulse and has breath and has passion behind
I mean,
it.
honestly, I like to actually see, you know, like an actual live animal rather than roadkill on the side of the road.
Yeah. Are you saying that
they might look the same, but
roadkill?
they're not the same on the inside?
They're not the same. No. Some of them are insides that are on their outsides. But that reminds me, I was reading nonfiction in college, and it was nature writing. So a lot of people just writing about nature. And there was this guy who, speaking of roadkill, he wrote this story about how he wanted to honor the dead. And so he was driving and he started picking up all the roadkill that he found. And he said it was like terribly difficult to do it, but he'd go and he'd bury them by the side of the road. And he did that for an entire trip to go see his friend.
That's really cool.
It was so beautiful. Like, I mean, it was disgusting, right? Because he was going into detail about things, but that was the point of it. Like, that is the kind of the point of writing, to experience something you haven't experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
And writers who are immersive, like nature writers, are very awesome, very immersive with their environment. He was writing from what he had directly experienced. And he gets to his friend's house, you know, late at night, like he's 2 days late because he's been burying all the roadkill. And he tells his friend why he's late. And his friend's like, why did you do that? Like, and it was just like, it was so interesting for him to like have gone through this entire thing and to write this short story about it later on. And his friend be like, that's stupid. You know, I love hearing about the guy who went out and did this beautiful thing, and then his friend was like, why? Like, that feels so human to me. It feels like a human experience that I got to share because I read it. So anyway, I'm gonna go grab something to drink. Do you think that you can regale the WriteNow community for just a moment while I excuse myself for beverage?
Yeah. It actually gives a good moment to put up a couple banners.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So for anyone who is enjoying the stream, go ahead and follow and subscribe. There's something going on daily. Wednesdays we've got the WriteNow Writers Group. Saturdays is the critique show. Sundays usually like a podcast or something going on, and then writing sprints throughout the week. There is a Discord for anyone who is not yet joined. There's people active every day. We've got all kinds of things going on. I just actually added something today for anyone who was interested in music. I added a space to share lyrics that you wrote. Or like if you want to learn how to write music, that's what that's going to be there for. I've already put something up myself so people can see what I've done. There's just all kind of like general things going on. And then she's back.
And I'm back with my magic beverage drink. V8 energy. I call them my juice boxes.
Hey, Nano.
Just in case anybody was wondering if I was partaking of liqueurs. No, not right now. Formula fiction, yeah. So did you catch everybody up on what to do and where to go?
Yep, I told them about the Discord. I don't know if you caught this, but there's a new channel there now. It is under the, where did I put it? In development, chapter 2. It's for music. Anybody who wants to share lyrics that they've written, wants to learn how to write music, anything related to that, there is now a space to share that. And I went ahead and shared what I had written.
Oh, okay.
So can I read it? You can actually check that out.
Can I read it right quick?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
All right. I found the seas, found my home. I crossed the waves and back again. And I found more than I found in white-capped waves till the storm took me down. Well, I've been searching o'er the waves. The world's been made anew. The white winds blow and the sea waves throw, and I toss myself through the clouds. The storm found me hidden in the skies, but I didn't back down. I kept on searching, looking, hoping. For what I find, I cannot stop. That has there's a dynamic in there that I couldn't quite wrap my ear around, but like there was, I could tell there was a scheme. It was just very playful and loose, like the ocean almost, like the unpredictability of it.
It was based off one of Fleetwood Mac's songs. I want to say.
Oh, is that the chain? Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was Fleetwood Mac, and I'm pretty sure. I'm like 98% sure it was based off the chain. It may have been based off one of their other songs, but I'm pretty sure it was that one. And yes, give me one moment, and I will go ahead and throw up a link for people. Should also be below the YouTube. Let's see.
Yeah, the WriteNow Discord. Probably. Oh shoot. Yeah, we probably need to throw because I didn't do any links when I set this up in the description.
All right, there we go. I just went ahead and posted the link to the Discord so people can go ahead and copy paste that into your browser and go ahead and join. Like I said, always something going on. Always have people posting like every day, and hopefully we can get more people.
Yes, that would be great. Come join us. It's so much fun in there. Like,
and hopefully, I'm actually going to start being a little more active myself.
Well, you had Write Meow that you were doing. Adventure Write Meow.
Yeah, I was doing the Adventure Right Now for November. So. But beyond that, though, I haven't really done much myself. I put up a couple pieces of art, shared a couple things myself, but for the most part, I've kind of just like been in the background.
Yeah, you haven't been like terribly active. I've been in there promoting a bunch of my crap because I've been doing a bunch of crap lately, but I also like getting out. And
I think mainly my thing was just I was doing the Right Now, so I was more focused on that.
I think that when you're busy, right? But like there are great discussions in there all the time. Like always, like if you're a new writer looking for any information, there are a couple of people that have so much knowledge. You will find somebody to help you answer. And if they don't know exactly what you're asking, they will help you figure it out. There's a lot of really kind, helpful people who've had a lot of experiences with writing. There's writers of all levels of experience. Yeah, absolutely go hop in. We have fun little activities planned every once in a while. Like we did a costume party back for Freaky Friday. And I heard a rumor that we're going to be doing something for the Right Now-a-thon coming up. So also like we put the get well soon card for Kaufman in there as well. So it's a way to stay in touch when we're not when everybody's not streaming. And I guess like I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Sol and I are moderators in the Discord. So we moderate stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So I just happened to see a comment.
Okay.
So hi Heavy Aether. So basically what these streams are is Kaufman, who is usually the one hosting these, has for this entire year has been working on his own book Scarecrow, which hopefully he's going to be publishing at the end of the year. Every day he's been doing like a writing sprint. We've got a writers group going on. We've got things going on every Saturday. We just wrapped up November's NaNoWriMo event, the Right Now-a-thon, the Adventure Right Now. And then we've got the Right Now-a-thon coming up in December, at the end of December. So, sorry, I caught myself a little too late there.
It's all right now.
We've got writers of all kinds of experience. We've got people who are completely new to writing. We've got people who've been writing for years. We've got people who are published. Most people I think aren't. And I think pretty much everyone is like self-published or like indie publisher. I want to say.
I think the majority of people are indie publishers. Yeah.
I was thinking self-published, so. All right, give me one moment, and I will double check. Looks like I got somebody else up in the music, so.
Discord, they said. Let me try it.
I didn't have any problems.
Let me.
Well, then I will go ahead and post.
I'll try it. Did that work? That didn't post to Facebook though, didn't?
No, and they're coming through YouTube.
Yeah, I'm working on my first story, 160 pages in. Figured I could learn something here. That's cool. What's your story about? What genre?
Yeah, definitely love to hear that.
Yeah, that's and so we've so like and subscribe, because when Kaufman gets back, he will definitely be able to help you get where you're going. We're just we hadn't decided not. We're definitely not mutinying and taking over the studio tonight, but Kaufman will definitely. Yar.
Yeah, no, we did kind of hijack this a little bit, but hey, we were asked to.
Yeah, we were asked to. We did. We've been talking about writing and writing related topics like most of the time. So I think
we've been able to stay, if not completely on topic, it's at least been related to writing.
yeah. It's like at least like in the vein of like if we were talking about something else, it was like, how does that tie back into writing? Like we're good moderators. We're so nice. We're not pushing all the buttons. So anyway, yes, thank you for adding that new Discord. I love that. I hope other people will participate in that too, because I'm sure if they're not poets, then people who have written songs are probably songwriting is pretty popular.
It would actually be neat to see some songwriters in there.
Yeah.
Just because like, okay, so yes, obviously I'm kind of like the main game writer, I think, in the community right now, or at least I haven't seen many other people. So we've got game writers, we've got tons of novel writers. We've got poets, but I think songwriting might be the one kind of writer we don't have at this moment.
Yeah, like I haven't heard anybody mention it really, or like we haven't really
maybe mentioned it once, like ages ago, but it's not something I seriously pursued until like recently.
I knew you sang, but I didn't know that you were doing songwriting. So I mean, like
I'm dabbling. I'm trying to learn it. Maybe trying to do something on the side, do things for my own book. Maybe, do some like freelance work.
That would be cool if you could like sell a song and like have somebody.
That would just be awesome.
Right. You know what I mean?
I'm actually part of some a cappella groups on Facebook for singer-songwriters, for people who make them and then actually sing them themselves.
Oh.
Because I can't play an instrument yet, but I can apparently sing well enough that at least I could try it.
I think that's
the worst that happens is people tell me I'm terrible and I fade into obscurity.
You will never fade into obscurity. You might sail into the sunset, but you will never fade into obscurity.
Yeah, no, I think at this point it'd be pretty difficult for people to actually like forget me, considering how much I've been like partaking in all of these strings.
Yeah, no. If you were to be absent and nobody said anything, eventually the questions would begin, because things wouldn't be written anymore. They'd be going along at like 80 words per minute and not 200, and we would be like, what happened? Why are the words so slow? Well, we lost our energetic pulse and soul's gone, so now we all have to type slow. It's sad. No, that would be games
that
writing.
Awesome, by the way.
Cool.
Nice to always hear about more game designers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I think games designing is interesting. So Heavy Aether says it's a romance thriller. A mercenary stuck in a cycle of violence who is assigned a new maid, his live-in to be assassin. But his paranoia and PTSD cloud his mind while he tries to unravel her mystery. Is that the first time you've tried to write anything? Is that what you said? Because that's pretty sophisticated for a first shot.
Yeah, it was actually really neat. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm like, I know that when Kaufman talks about doing this, so Kaufman does a critique show on Saturday, and he reads excerpts for people, dramatically, usually, and we'll give like a 10-minute critique of them.
Yeah, the guy does voices. We can't forget that.
We like to listen to mysteries. So stick around for the Saturday critique show. There's a form that you can submit to, and Kaufman will give you some really helpful feedback on your story if you wanted to go that direction. But he does read it live, which I didn't understand when I sent it in, and suddenly my story was out there for everybody. I felt so embarrassed, like my cheeks turned red. But he was reading it so well, I was like, did I write that? Because it sounds really good. So I knew right away that like I was in the right place.
Yeah, for anybody who's not familiar with his critique shows, which they've been absent for a little while, partially because like the adventure right now, he's got a background in acting, and it shows because he does voices and stuff, and it does make the story, it does make the story, the parts he reads actually do come to life. It's really neat.
Yeah, and then every once in a while, like, okay, now that he's not here, like somebody has to at least once a week throw out an old man story. So we have to pull out Old Man Cough and get a I'm not saying this right, but he does the Old Man Cough voice, the old man voice. So everybody like just send him old man stuff. We'll send it all to him at once sometime. And he'll just have to do it for 2 hours straight, and it'll be hilarious. No,
okay, I don't think he's gonna last that long.
He won't last that long. He'd be like, "What did you guys do?" Nothing. I'm gonna go dig up the link for the submission form.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I can't. Did he send that out with the critique show is back email? You can sign up for his emails and get like information.
Yeah, he sends out a newsletter every week that shows what's going on that week, what times. He works in I believe it's what, Mountain Standard or Pacific Standard?
He's Mountain, yeah.
Mountain. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. So he works in Mountain, but we've got, and so he has Mountain and I think Eastern Standard on his emails. But we've got people like, you know, from all over the world, I think, in the community. So
yeah. There's a little bit of everybody, everything from everywhere. I'm gonna go check out one of the. I cannot find the. This. I'm gonna go to his. Is it on his? It's not on his website either. What? Oh, get off my. All right, I'm gonna try to do it. Get off my lawn. Is that good or is that terrible? I don't think that was
not half bad.
No. I just remember when we did Freaky Friday and he like pretended to have an emergency. And when I said I didn't like improv, he ran off on me and left me with Freaky Friday like as the host of this huge thing. And like it took him forever to do a costume change. And I was just sitting there like I knew it was coming, but I was legitimately freaked out. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And it's in the middle of like the big event, right? The very end. And my face is, I know what my face looked like because I was sitting there staring at it like, move.
So you got stage fright?
Oh God, like I'm so like, I'm bouncy and talkative and I move around a lot until like I'm supposed to be doing something. And then it's like, and then he took a long time because he was doing this Old Man Cough costume. And he really, like, he ended up with the baby powder, like, for his beard to make it white. And, like, he had to jump over furniture. And so he took an extra long time, is my point. But when he showed up, it was all worth it because we finally got to meet Old Man Cough because he wandered out of the nursing home earlier that day and was hanging out with Jezebel. Like, I don't know about what happened with that. He said she was a nice young woman, and I'm just going to take his word for it. I don't buy it, though. Where is...
Yeah, I'm actually looking for the link myself, and I cannot find it.
I just submitted, like, I saw the link on his... I'm going to go over to his previous... Because I saw it on the critique show. The minions need minions. Help us out, guys. Where is... let's see. I gotta find his channel right quick. Okay. Apparently, okay. It came right up. It came right up. Creative writing, writer's chat, critique show. 2 days ago.
I believe I actually just found it.
Oh, okay. Good.
All right, give me one moment.
And there's the newsletter sign up too. Okay. I tried, but it would not work for me. It's on Saturday's show. Oh, the link wouldn't work for you, ML? Is that what you're saying? That the form? You couldn't open the form? I went from the I opened it from the one he sent in the chat. So posting here. Okay, I think ML's got. I can open the form. You can't open the form. Okay, cool. Oh.
All right, so
Not have the power.
So that should be a working link.
There you go.
And yes, that is a tiny URL because that was ungodly long and I had to shorten it.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah. It's like the weird poem, the weird long poem that shows up. Like, I don't get the artist's intention with this.
Yeah, for anybody who's watching and just wants to type it in, there it is.
Yep. Perfect. Definitely go check it out if you're interested in submitting a critique. It has all of the guidelines on it on the form. Super easy to. I ended up during the show last time, and you didn't get to it, but I ended up submitting a bit from my third book that I actually wrote second. And then I wrote like 2 other books after that. And then I went back in time. Like, yeah, I'm a time traveler when it comes to writing my books. Like, there's 7 of them and they're one continuous story, but I'm jumping around quite a lot. But like, yeah, I do that just within the same series. Like, I can't, I'm just linear. You have multiple dimensions going on. I'm like, no, it's just one world, one timeline. We're sticking with this, but we're going to go all over the place with it.
Well, so, like, well, with Pirates, I'm actually kind of going back in time, back and forth between time. Cool. Because I do have a novella in the works. I think people are actually going to enjoy. This is something I've kind of seen this before with books, but it is a series of 1-chapter short stories. The entire novella is actually called Through Their Eyes. Mm-hmm. 5 characters from each of the 3 books, so 15 total, of a moment from the book from a different character's perspective.
I like that.
So, like at the very beginning, like the first book, the 5 characters, you get to see moments from Kira, Ox, North, Brennar, and Sonus. You actually get to see moments that happen in the book, but from their perspectives.
I like that.
So you actually get to see what they think about Kasai or whatever's going on. So like. This won't be too much of a spoiler for anyone who decides to read Pirates, but the 2 weeks that Ox was forced to stay a wolf before they knew he was human, you get to see him see Kasai in a moment that the book didn't even show. We know that Kasai took care of him, but we don't know exactly what happened during that time period. So in Ox's chapter, you get to see what Kasai was like.
I love that.
There's a moment between North and another character, and North's just kind of pissed about something. And I mean, you're not going to blame him. But he's really pissed, and it's a whole bad situation. But you get to see what's going on with him, and it's like, oh, so this was actually going on at this moment, and Kasai doesn't know, and it just.
I'm sorry. I'm listening to what you're saying. I want to read this series. I have heard the critique show. That's where
Yep, I have sent in some. I've sent in some snippets from the books.
It's always cool for the community to send stuff into the critique show. I love hearing what people are working on, and I love like listening to it because it tends to register a little bit stronger for me, especially when Kaufman's reading it because he's got that. He's got that style. He can really like do character voices and stuff. He can. He's great.
But I will admit, for anybody who's interested in sending him stuff, if you have unusual names, send pronunciation.
Poor guy. Yeah. Like, and
I don't blame him though. The names I tend to use are really strange.
Yeah, you send him the pronunciation guide though, don't you?
Yes, I do. I started doing that after the second one because he could not pronounce Brennar.
He had no idea. Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are putting, like, especially fantasy writers are putting pronunciation guides in their work.
Yep. All
And I
three of
think
my
that's-
books actually have a list of characters, new terms, and animals from each of the books. And the website actually has all of that listed as well.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
the website's
what
kind
I
of like
like?
a wiki, kind of like a wiki informational thing. So
I was about to say, like, one of the cool things that's kind of occurring with writing, and like I'm listening to you talk about your story, and I get the impression that like one of the things that you get to go back and do is kind of write almost like a lot of people like behind the scenes, alternate point of views, cutting floor stuff. If you're doing like extras for your fans.
mm-hmm.
But like you almost get the opportunity to write fan fiction about your own characters and get back into this.
The ultimate thing for a writer to do, though, is write good enough people want to write fan fiction for you.
I know, right? Like at some point I want other people to write my stuff for me and I just like put my stamp of approval on it because I know I'm going to get it's not because I'm lazy, it's because I'm going to be off doing something else entirely, and I'm like, I want people to know what's going on. I'll have ghostwrite. No, I didn't say any of that. I write everything myself. Actually, I think it would be fun to write. Like you were talking about that, and I was like, I have a list of characters called the Arcana in my books, and they're based on archetypes, very specific archetypes, and they get cursed, and they have to go through human karmic cycles until they learn their lessons.
Oh, neat.
And yeah, and then they can ascend to their throne, but they ascend it in the ether, and they can't actually do anything but influence Earth. And then their counterparts were also cursed, but they were cursed to stay in the ether the whole time. So while part of them were and they actually did the worst thing, right? So they each did one thing. These guys did it worse. So they got cursed to staying in the ether. So they actually come to hate humanity because they have to sit there and watch it through the ages and growing more and more and more, like, being able to watch something but not being able to interact with it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other guys got to experience life and humanity and learn their lessons. And it wasn't until they figured out whatever they were supposed to figure out that they were able to ascend into their archetypical throne, is what I call it. But like, I don't show how everybody ascended. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it becomes important in some books. It's also the reason why my books take on different genres. Because if I'm talking about romance between different characters versus like there's a war in one book, and then there's like an epic fantasy adventure in another book. So like, but I'm telling this story over like 250 years. So it just takes, so I have this opportunity to work with different characters in different genres, but they're all the same character arc, timeline, story. But anyway, so the third book, which is my epic fantasy adventure, I noticed something about my writing, and I'm not saying anything bad about like white dudes, but like I figured out by the third book that I only write white dudes as like spirits and they're always writers. I'm like, I have white dudes all over the place, but they're all spirits, or they're like archetypes, or they're like, all of my characters are like female or androgynous, or I don't have any like main character. My first book I wrote did have a white dude main character. It's like probably the only one. But anyway, so like, but I have a huge affection for the guys that I used to read, like Kurt Vonnegut and Hunter S. Thompson. I was a huge fan of Hunter S. Thompson's writing because he could be both brutal and so keen and so clever and so poetic and so crazy. I loved him. So I brought him back as an owl. And I got to write my impression of Hunter S. Thompson as an incarnate owl trying to help the psychic figure out their destiny, right? So I sent Kaufman the scene where he incarnates on Earth. And I am super excited to be back on the Saturday Critique Show. I want to see what he does with it. I'm sure he'll do it justice. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I don't see. This is why I'm a pantser. I don't know where stories go. I just start talking about them, and eventually you get around to some sort of point, right? Something that resembles a point. So my point was, I write about old white dudes that are owls. No.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that myself. I have a specific kind of character I tend to work with. Kasai was actually the first of his kind, though. Transgender. So yes, I actually have a transgender main character.
Awesome.
And honestly, I told Kaufman this the other day, but the entire series is actually kind of turning out to be a euphemism for what happens the second book really is just what happens when a trans person gets off their medication.
Oh.
I did not realize I was going with that theme until like a little after midway through the book, and then it's like, oh wait. Oh shit. But no, most of my characters do tend to be if not white, white. They usually tend to be a white character, or I think I've had a couple characters that you could probably call them Native American, at least in looks. But I don't really focus on looks so much as the fact that they are just riddled with trauma. Yeah. That is most of my characters, is they go through some kind of crap.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Kasai, he went through, way too much. I think I overdid it with him.
Did you overdo it with poor Kasai?
Honestly, if he were alive, he would burn me alive.
Oh, I think that about my characters as well.
I think honestly, though, that's the mark of a good character. If your character wants to kill you, then you've probably written them well. But no, most of my characters do actually tend to have some kind of trauma. Like, I've got one character. The very beginning of her story actually wasn't half bad. She was just in a kid friendship. And she got left behind because, she couldn't go with them. And then the trauma happened. And then I have another character. Oh my God. He started out really traumatic. He got rescued from that trauma, which was awesome. And then, God, let me think, what was it? 7 years later, boom, massive trauma. And he's still, he's still kind of, I guess you could say he's still recovering because he's mute. And it's psychosomatic. So there's nothing physically wrong with him. It's just, basically when he was a toddler, he did something that the people who had him saw as wrong. And he decided to not say anything, and he just kind of stayed that way. And currently he's 17, 18, and he still hasn't spoken a word since he was like 4.
Remember you talking about that character.
Yeah, that's from the Lunarian fan fiction. I've got like another one. I've got Arya, who was a science experiment, so that was trauma. All of my characters either have trauma already, or they have trauma within the first chapter.
I do a lot of trauma in mine as well. So I noticed actually that when I wrote Deterra's Requiem, and I published it back in October, but it was like retrospectively kind of, or after you organize and look at how you've written your life accidentally later on, right? So like I realized that each one of the characters could represent an aspect of some sort of mental health issue. Like one of my characters represents depression, and one of my characters represents rage, and another one represents addiction and doesn't really care. It's attitudes towards it as well. But like each one of them, I don't write unredeemable characters. I think that everybody should have a shot and a second chance, because I think that people grow over time. Even like the worst kind of people eventually could be shown a better way of doing things, or give them a couple incarnations before they get there. Even like I'm not against killing you a couple times to make a point, but I think that we're so I really struggle with writing actual villains in my work, because if everybody's redeemable, then how do you create an entity that is not? And what does that entity come from, and what do they represent? So in my book, the bad guy represents the darkness that you walk into that will hold you there and not let you go. And that's more of a condition of your, he's not only a representation, a psychological representation of the things that pull people into the darkness. He's a physical manifestation of that as well. And so to me, that's the most horrible thing, is the thing that pulls you into a place where you can't get out and keeps you away from the light. I think that's what evil is. If you're going to, one of the aspects of evil, and he's actually an aspect or a representation of, oh man, spoiler, should I spoil it? It's in the same universe, but it's not a part of the series that I'm writing. But he becomes significant at the end of the other book series. You know how you know where you're going? Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer introduced the first at the beginning and then fought them at the very end. Like I kind of did that. I teased a couple of things that we'll be getting to in 3 years. But like, yeah, so I mean, like I had to take that idea because it gets complicated. If you've created a rule, like following your own rules, I think that it's kind of cheating to break them. Cheating
is. And it feels wrong.
It feels cheap when you're reading it and you're like, I thought things were this way, and now you've broken this rule. And now, like, I hate it. As an example, it was that book, Sarah J. Maas. The first one, A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I read. And at the beginning of that book, she's like setting this, like she's saying that fairies can't, or fae can't lie, or it was something like humans can't lie to fae, or it was some sort of rule that she set, right? And like you believe this rule the entire time, and then like later on she meets faes and she's like, it's having a conversation with them, and she's like, you guys can't lie to us, and they're like, that's just something we made up to tell you. And it felt wrong in a way. Like, I mean, that's completely understandable that like a group of like uberhuman type entities would create fairy tales and tell people that so that they keep them. It felt convenient is the thing. Like it felt convenient to the plot. Like the writer got to that point and was like, they can't actually lie. I need them to lie in the scene. So I'm just going to say that was bullshit. And I just like, I don't like it when it feels cheap like that.
It feels sloppy. Like they weren't really thinking it through.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple times in my own writing, and
the sin of pantsing. We don't actually.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. There was actually a scene that was supposed to be in Burning Ember that it wasn't the best scene. It wasn't terrible. I mean, I could have edited it and made it a lot better, but it took such a cheap shot at Brennar that, and I mean, not only was it a cheap shot, but he's also one of the most influential characters in the entire series. I didn't want to take that shot at him because it's like this goes against something that I designed for him. It goes against his personality, and it goes against, well, in his case, it also went against what he was trying not to do the entire series. Well, the entire first book I will say he admits he wanted to tell Kasai who his dad was. That scene would have broken that. Or it would have come close enough that it would have basically told the writers who that person was. But I couldn't do that because it's like, no, this isn't right. He's not supposed, Kasai's dad isn't supposed to be revealed like this.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't say, even if Brennar hadn't said him directly, it would have put so much information out there. It would have been undeniable.
And you just didn't. Yeah, if it's important, like if it's something minor, like as okay-ish, but if it's important, like that's a huge reveal, knowing your characters.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit, I left like a lot of red herrings, but
yeah. I think that I just read a short story that had loads of red herrings and I didn't pick up on any of them. But I think that, at some part of your brain does. And like, there's what I always call my favorite ending is the surprising but inevitable ending. And I think that if you put enough foreshadowing, if you put enough, oh, you're talking about red herrings. I was thinking foreshadowing. For red herrings.
No, that's kind of what I meant. Is I put little
yes.
bits and pieces that hinted to who Kasai's dad was.
Mhm.
And there was even a conversation between Kasai and Tomas where literally that's what they speculated about.
Oh, okay.
They're like, oh, wait a minute. It could be this guy, it could be this guy, it could be this guy, or this guy. Well, no, it may not be this guy because we don't know if he actually met Kira. And this other guy might be possible, but it just doesn't seem right. I mean, it was just an outright conversation about it that left you guessing between 4 people. But I did not, and then I actually went back on that, but like in a good way. And I showed that, oh no, the character they weren't even sure about was actually friends with Kira when she was younger.
Oh,
so it just like put it into that when they were like so sure that he wasn't going to be a guess.
No, I think that I like that though. I like if I'm following a story for a while and it's serialized and there's like a mystery like that and the writer is leaving hints. Like I'm like, yeah. And I think that if you're going to do something, when you finally do reveal it, like it has to be a bit special. You know, it has to have that surprising but inevitable thing. And like sometimes as a writer though, like I don't know about you, but sometimes I just want to get stuff down on page and not like I don't know how to pursue it. Like I think that just letting other people like bouncing it off of idea generators like you and like Kaufman or in the Discord for anybody watching at home. There's a brainstorming. Oh, there's a brainstorming.
Yeah, there's a brainstorm help in the chapter 2 in development. I put something in there last, and they'll responded to it. Actually about my about the latest book that I'm working on. Yeah, no, anybody who joins the Discord, if you need some help, go ahead and put something in the brainstorm, and people will respond and give you some ideas on where you should go. Does something work? Is there something that they think is missing that they really think you should put in there? All kinds of help.
Yeah, and shout out to Nil for like I've seen him really taking his time and thinking about like different putting a response out there. So like yeah, that's super helpful.
My brainstorm, but it was a lot and it was really helpful, and I really that.
He really does take a lot of consideration when he answers, and like I think that the more that we build that up in the community, like that's essentially what writers groups can and in my opinion should do. Like
that's what they need to do. Is
you have to give.
We need to help each other get better. We need to help each other find out where our strengths lie and what we need to work on. And it doesn't have to be in novels. It could be in music. It could be in games. It could be in screenwriting for, TV or film. Fact is, if you're a writer and you need help, this group is this entire community is perfect because we've got people from everywhere.
It's diverse both in like genre, in form, and in the kind of people that we have in there. Like there's a little bit of everything in there. So if you're wondering about perspectives from people outside of your community or outside of your experience, you're probably going to find somebody in there who knows something about it.
Yeah.
And can, if they don't want to like necessarily talk about their experience, can guide you in a direction. That using other writers as idea generators and as resources is a completely invaluable tool. Collaboration. They say that like writing is one of the most solitary arts that you can do, and to a degree that's true. But like, there's a point when collaboration always pays off.
I personally don't think anyone can be solitary when it comes to writing. Not truly. They can sit there in their studio and they can be alone with not even a cat to bother them. But
wow, no
reality, in reality, every writer interacts with another writer, or at least another person at some point, with their story, with their ideas, with whatever they're doing, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah. Or their own experiences.
And most of the time, it's not going to be on purpose, because you could literally just be reading a book, like with me with Bloody Jack. I was just reading that book. I did not know it was affecting my writing style. until I actively started writing and comparing it, and then it's like, oh, this is how I can write as well as I can in high school, because I was completely obsessed with that series. And then years later, when I'm like actually in college to write, when I'm actually in college trying to get my degree, and I actually was told by my teachers, hey, pay attention to this, pay attention to that. Then I actually started paying attention to what I was reading. And it's like, oh, I've actually been getting help from authors without actively asking for help, without even realizing that I'm getting help, all because I'm reading, all because I'm reading books, I'm reading fan fiction. Some of the things, it's because I'm watching TV, because I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a TV show. I'm out, like, it can be even at Walmart, and I'm overhearing conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Everything gives you information, gives you help, gives you advice, whether you realize it or not. It's awesome if you can go out there and purposely look for it. But if you're a writer, you're getting help from every faucet, no matter what you're doing, because that's what we do.
I think that it's a highly reflective art form as well, because writers have the ability to think. And I think that's part of what writing is it's very heavily a thinking about things. And
it's using your brain, which is why some people don't seem to like it.
And some people don't like the thinky pain. No, but I think, it's very much like it's taking a step back and looking at things, not critically, or not necessarily critically, but like there's two cards in the tarot, and the first is the Magician and the second one is the High Priestess. And the Magician is the forward, like, this is the thing I'm doing, this is what I'm putting out in the world, this is the spell I'm casting, this is the thing I want. And the High Priestess takes a step back and observes what happens afterwards. So when I say reflective, I'm talking about that backward motion, that taking a step back and being able to. And so that's what we do. We have all these, we actively engage in all of these experiences and all of these research. We're putting ourselves out there, we're looking for things to define, or looking in ways to define things and how to say things. And then, but when writing, you take a step back from all of those things and look at it and you ask yourself, how can I put this together in such a way that says something about me, or says something about the world, or challenges people, or makes the world a more beautiful place. Like it's that introspection. I think that qualifies writing as writing in fiction and poetry as well. You have to move back. Painting is kinetic, right? Singing is, you move when you write too, but there's almost a submission to what's being written in it, which is less active than the other things that you could be doing. And that's my philosophical spiel for the evening. It's time to go when old Penelope starts getting her tweet out and just getting words like sublime and introspection come out. Like, it's time to turn her camera off. No, really, it's time to turn my camera off. My old lady is tired. My inner old lady wants to go.
Well, we actually have been at this for about a little over 2 hours. So, I mean, I think we've had some really interesting conversations that have kind of bounced around everywhere tonight. Good conversations.
Yeah, take the two bouncy ones and put us in a mutiny together, and this is what happens.
Hey, that's what happens when you have untreated ADHD.
I just call it bound. I can't stay on a topic too long. What's the next shiny? Squirrel brain is what I call it. Next shiny theme. Squirrel. What's this new topic that we haven't discussed yet? Which is why when I wrote my book series, I decided I'd do each one in a different genre, else I just abandoned it. And I don't want to abandon my children. I thought that sounded wrong. So I had to make it. You have to make it a game for yourself, okay? Like, there are going to be points when it just sucks. Writing sucks. It's going to be like Stephen King said, sometimes it's just shoveling shit. And you're going to not feel the passion, and it's going to smell bad. Just shovel it. Just Just wait for the days when the words start coming back and the passion starts flowing again.
Oh yeah, no, that's honestly that's
yeah.
kind of what happened with me with Pirates. Is it was just
no.
like I was like just nowhere with it, and then my husband just came and gave me a metaphorical kick in the butt, and then I just took off.
Oh, good. That's all you needed was a little fire under your hiney, and boom.
No, I needed shame. That's what I needed. I needed
shame.
a good dose of shame. He shamed me into it.
I know that some people like work well with that, especially if it comes from like a well-meaning loved one. But I just cry. I'm just like, oh, if you want to inspire me, like you. How do I get inspired? Oh, you know what I do? I have this thing. I have this hard stop when I need to do anything. I'm a huge procrastinator, and I have this hard stop. So you can't actually inspire me to do anything fun. You just have to push me into it. Like I have to physically, grumpy, coffee in hand, sit down. It's what helps is if I'm taking a shower and I'm thinking about what I want to write, like then when the inspiration starts to ping on all of that's when I start getting excited about it, and then being able to channel that into what I'm writing. Yeah. But otherwise, I mean, like, because it becomes a job at some point, you have to get through those shoveling shit parts. Like, yeah, if you have somebody that can motivationally shame you into doing it, good for you. If you have to just sit your own butt down and with your coffee and grump through it and just start typing nonsense until you start typing less nonsense. And
hey, that's what I do with my fan fictions. I just sat down and started writing those, and then I did like 200K in like less than 2 months. So
oh my God.
I was on a writing spree.
My bladder is too small for that schedule. Like I could never
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I forgot to do a lot of things I really
I was gonna say, like, yeah, you were writing for 2 months. So I imagine you type pretty fast. So I mean,
yeah, well,
but still, I was just like, see, you're like, at least you know that you can write an entire story. Like I get like through a chapter and I'm like, zing, and the next one's gonna have a mythological beast in it. Were you just in Kansas? Yeah, I'll make it work. That's a true story, kids. Love Spell Murders, January 27th.
Oh God. Also, ML. Yeah, this might be a little like the write-a-thon, but I don't want to say too much, especially without Kaufman here. But we do have a fair amount of the write-a-thon planned already, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. I mean, it is for what we've got planned. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be so.
But
cool.
I'm going to let Kaufman spill the beans on that whenever he gets a chance. So
yeah, whenever he gets his beans in order and is in a position to spill them. Yes. Yeah, I think he's making announcements starting next week.
I believe so. Yeah,
I think that's what we talked about. Okay.
Let me see the date. Yes, I will start next week. I believe Monday.
It is not going to be the two of us improving for 2 days straight. I guarantee you that.
It's not.
Still might be able to, but I like I said, I got a very tiny bladder. I would need to take mini breaks. And
yeah, also, I could not improv. I could not do this alone. Let's just say that.
Oh no, I know. Like that's what I keep threatening people who don't show up to my podcast with sock puppets, because that's what's going to happen after a couple of months. It's just going to be me and Sacco hanging out on my podcast. So like, yeah. So you're coming on my podcast, right?
Hey, I'll happily come on your podcast if you need to.
I'll schedule you. We'll talk. I have to go to the potty though, so we gotta shut this thing down.
All right, yeah. So I'll say this. So we're at the end of our stream now, and it was actually it was a lot of fun just having us two kind of taking this over tonight.
It was fun. I kept trying not to say the lunatics have taken over the asylum, but
I don't think we're quite that crazy.
We're not that bad. Like we didn't start like I said, pushing all the buttons. I just liked it right now. I just liked this one right now. I gave it a thumbs up. I'm already subscribed, so I can't subscribe.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this, yeah, don't forget to, like, subscribe, keep up with the the WriteNow community. Come join the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've always got something going on. So, absolutely. And with the write-a-thon coming up, it's going to be a lot better.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to be so much fun. And those updates are coming. So get excited now. start getting excited now because you guys are going to be in for Kaufman is going to do it Kaufman style. So you know it's going to be over the top hat.
Yep. And I will say, so tomorrow, if Kaufman's not back, it might be us again. I don't know yet. Yes. Hopefully he's better, though. Hopefully
sympathy in advance if he's not.
Yeah.
We can probably think of something to talk about for 2 hours.
Honestly, I think tomorrow, if it's us, it might be a couple writing sprints.
You know, I could get some writing done, honestly. Like, yeah, we should do, if we're here tomorrow, be prepared to do some writing sprints, guys, because I think we talked about everything in the world tonight.
Probably close to it.
We discussed every topic. You know, we'd get here tomorrow and we're gonna forget to do the writing sprints because we're just got a whole new. We slept.
I could actually keep us on track with that. I actually even had like a timer up for us tonight in case we did.
Do you have a timer? Because I didn't have a timer. So okay. So you're in charge of the timer.
Yeah. But yeah. So tomorrow, if it's us, it'll be a writing sprint. If it's Kaufman, I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully he'll be better though, regardless. Wednesday is our writers group. Thursday, I believe, is another writing sprint day. Saturday is the critique show, and I don't think there's
Saturday is not the critique show because he's doing something different, remember? But I don't remember what it is.
I thought it was the story and critique show where people.
It was supposed to be. I mean, it usually is, but on Saturday he said that the next one was the week after, and there's something else in between.
Huh? I could have. Okay, well then if I am wrong, then I apologize.
No. I was just like I don't think normally you would be right. That is when the Saturday critique show happens. It's just not happening this weekend. I can't find why, and I don't know where the email is, and I have to go to the bathroom.
Well, yeah, no. So we'll go ahead and end this. And
Please end my suffering. Go,
you're more than welcome.
Wait. 8 easy edits every writer misses. I think that's what he's doing.
Okay.
On Saturday. What are 8 most common edits that every writer misses while writing the rough draft? Imagine if you could cut down on your word, tell the same story, and save time on revisions. Join Kaufman for a special live stream where he shares 8 of the most common editing mistakes. That's this Saturday. So I think we can all benefit from that.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Especially if we have to edit our own stuff.
Yeah. Especially if you have to edit your own stuff. And plus, it just anything that you can do to be a better writer, you should try to do. Oh, yeah. Kaufman is my editor, but when he sends me stuff back, I pay attention to what I'm doing consistently wrong throughout the course of the manuscript. And the next one I write, I'll make those changes. Yep. Because that's just going to mean I don't have to spend my energy making bad word choices, and I can spend my energy making other different cool bad word choices. So okay, I'm done.
All right, but so that's the end of the stream for today. This is
Penelope Hartley.
And I'm ChatSol.
There we are.
And we will see you guys on the morrow. Guys, have a good night.
What is it? Wait. Words are wind.
Words are wind, and stories are forever.
There we go. We did it. Yay!
Awesome. Right. See you guys.